Okay, we're live. We're live. Sorry for the delay. It turns out I don't know how the internet works, but I am here with Keenan and with Will Aitken, and I'm really dang excited about it. So thank you for folks that are joining us. So all gents, I'll just have you both come off mute and introduce yourself. Keenan, if you want to get us kicked off. I hope like everybody knows you, but just in case.
Am I on mute?
Well, I don't think so. Just go for it.
I don't know what I'm going to say. I wrote a book. It's pretty good. If you haven't read it, you're an idiot. Go read it. If you read it, already know. You already know. I don't know what to say. I'm not good at that stuff. I don't know what to say.
I think it was good enough. The book should serve as an introduction for itself. And for folks that are online, drop a comment and let us know, have you read the book? Where are you at in the book? Are you going to order it? Are you excited to read it at some point? I don't know.
You think it was a piece of shit? I hope we have some haters on here. That'd be good.
Maybe.
Yeah, I like some good debate. I hope there's
Okay, we'll see. Well, I have a challenging question for you later. We'll save it. Will, introduce yourself, my friend.
G'day. My name is Will. I didn't write a book yet, but I'm a big fan of Keenan's. Read it a few times now, made a couple of videos on it. So I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to ask Keenan some questions and just be part of this all.
A video today even where you said it was one of your all-time favorite sales books. And as somebody that has publicly committed to reading 52 sales and business books this year.
Let's not bring that up, Leslie. I'm really behind right now, okay? Books are a lot longer. Not all of them are as good as Gap selling. They're quite boring. So some of those have taken 2 weeks. So I'm about halfway to go right now on the 52 book challenge, which means that I've got a long way to go.
Just quick math, right? The average sales book is about 300 pages long, which means if you do that in a week of 7 days, that means you need to read approximately 29 pages of 42 page or 45 pages a day. And if you read a page a minute, which is fairly fast, let's say 2 pages a minute. The way around. Let's say a page a minute. It's basically an hour a day of just straight reading. Unless you're a bookworm, most people understand sitting down and committing to reading a book for an entire hour is rare. Like, that is a legitimate commitment. It's not like fucking TV. So, dude, I'm damn impressed.
You set yourself up for failure is what I'm hearing.
Well, I tell you what, I do cheat a little bit, okay? I consider listening to audiobooks somewhere.
Okay.
All right. So I've done about half and half. You'll see a bunch of the ones I have read there, and the rest are all audio, which means I can do 2.5 speed basically and kind of absorb that.
Not if I'm reading it, you can't. And if you can read me at 2.5, I'm damn impressed because I talk fast as shit as it is.
We have a couple people in the comments that said they're also doing it on audiobook, so you're not alone.
Dope.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Okay, well, let's jump in. My first question actually is before the book even starts, because you dedicated it, Keenan, to your 3 daughters. And I was like, did I even know Keenan had children? I follow all of your content, but I don't feel like I see you talk about that.
Come say hi. Come say hi.
Yeah, oh my gosh, yes.
Yes, come say hi.
So I was really excited to see that dedication.
Here's 2 of them. This is Ava.
Hi. Everybody say hi.
And this is Kenna. Come say hi, Kenna. And that's, I'm in the way. So that's 2 of the 3. The other one, my middle, is downstairs. So, yes, there you go. So now you met them.
Now I know that you have children. They are real. I've met them. We can vouch. Yeah. So my first question is, would you recommend sales as a career, as a profession for your children, for your daughters?
Fuck yeah. Seriously, with all due respect, Leslie, I get why you asked the question. I think in the context of today's world, it's a legitimate question. But if you take half a step back and you wouldn't, then you need to fucking quit your job. Let's just keep it real. Like, if you literally have a job and you've been doing that job and you try to be good at that job and you turn around and say to your kids, don't do this job, then you're in the wrong job. period of discussion. Now you're a slave and a bitch to your job, and you're just slogging through. So yeah, I would never have started a company that taught people how to sell and all that shit if I don't think selling is a good profession. So yeah, there you go.
I love it. I mean, you're also talking to a group of people. I mean, I can at least vouch for Will and I that are also like B2B sales and marketing obsessed. Like we're here, we view it as a profession, not just a job. We're in it for the long haul. So I thought that would be the answer, but I had to throw it out. Will, what about you? I mean, you have like a 1-year-old, a 1.5-year-old, so it might be too soon to think about career aspirations, but I assume you feel the same.
Yeah. I mean, he's trying to stop me from doing sales because he's up at the crack of dawn every night, making sure that I'm tired the next morning. But no, I would definitely recommend it. My dad's a salesman himself, and he's been a big inspiration, gave me a lot of the advice prior to reading books. I think it's kind of in the blood as well. I think sometimes if you're raised by someone who's a good seller, that can rub off on you, and I think that's why you get some generational salespeople.
All right, well, I got some advice for you, dog.
Go on.
First kid waking up every night, you're like, God, this sucks. You can't get any sleep. Let me just tell you what my wife at the time told me. She says, embrace every minute of it. It goes so fast, you will look back like, oh my God, what happened? And at the moment, I was like, yeah, right. But even though we're divorced, I give her credit for that. And I actually listened to her. And when they were 1 and then 3 and then 5 and 9, 7, now they're 16, 15, and 12. I see videos or pictures of when they were little. I'm like, oh my God, where did it go? So lean in, dog. Lean in, because you will wake up and they'll be 16 and you're like, what the fuck happened?
There's actually a really good podcast called The Longest Time.
90% of the time you spend with your children, 90% of the time you spend with your children your entire life is in the first 18 years.
Somebody else just told me that recently. Oh, Scott Sambucci just told me that recently. And I was like, that's kind of wild. I wonder if my parents banked on that and then they got more of me than they wished for during the pandemic. Never. They're amazing. They love me.
You moved back in, Leslie.
So let me ask you this. So Keenan, one of the things I also learned about you, besides the fact that you have 3 daughters, is that you started blogging in 2009. And I think that like maybe blogs were cool then, but like content creation wasn't really cool the way it is. Like there wasn't this whole like content marketing influencer sort of dynamic. You have like over 60,000 followers on LinkedIn. You obviously have your following through the company. So because content is something Will and I love and do as well. Just, we're on the journey to maybe where you're at. So what advice would you give us or what advice would you give the folks listening that want to start or accelerate their content journey?
I think in order to do a content journey, you have to appreciate the power of reach. If you do not respect or appreciate or value reach, then content is a waste of your time. And so I wrote a book. I think it's actually in many ways better than gap selling, but doesn't do nearly as well, called Not Taught. And I liken I liken reach to oil and gas, right? And what was the other one I picked? I can't remember the other ones off the top of my head. Finance is being one of the most valuable things in our economy. And people don't understand that. So if you think about the barons of the 20th century, other than oil and gas barons, one of them was Hearst, whatever his name is, right? Because he had reach. Newspapers, televisions in the 1920s, broadcasters, they were the richest people in the world, other than your oil and gas people, because they had reach. Now, you couldn't create your own reach when my parents grew up, but you can create your own reach now. And if you don't think that's a valuable asset today, you're over 50 and you got your head in your ass, because kids don't even have to go to college anymore. Like literally, everybody gets so mad at all these kids making all this money, on internet doing stupid things, doing dances and all that. It is what value is in that. The value is that 25 million. What's that? D'Amelio? What's that chick's name? D'Amelio? Charli D'Amelio on TikTok has like 100 million followers because she just dances around in a fucking circle. If the 125 million people think it's valuable, it's valuable. Sorry, old guy born in the 50s and 60s, you think it's dumb. She's a millionaire dancing around, and you're still working for the man, wondering how you're going to pay your goddamn mortgage when you're 75 years old. So reach is everything.
So that's what I'm doing wrong. Just more dances, less sales tips and insights.
I know. I
kid. It's not me.
But yeah, so that's the fundamental answer. Is it's about reach. And after that, if you believe in reach and you value reach, then figure out who you want to reach. Why would they want to pay attention to you? And then start creating content that that they will respond to, and little by little over time, your reach will grow, and then that becomes a valuable asset.
Yeah. I saw today on LinkedIn, I don't remember which school it was, but like a prestigious school is offering a full course on how to create and monetize social channels.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
They're going to fuck it up as a school, but brilliant.
Will, you could probably be a teacher there at some point. You took your own account plus sales feed. And then how long have you even been running the sales feed account? Like less than a year.
Yes, about 5 months.
Yeah. And you took it 0 to 40. Like what's because you do a couple dances. You mostly do stuff with lightsabers.
I'm not much for the ribbon, but I do succumb to some dances just for the reach, right?
Just for the reach.
But TikTok's good for that. That's where you get the most reach right now, which is where you and I have both built a following, Liz.
Yeah, we love it. Okay. Let's dig into the actual book. I just didn't know I was going to learn all of these things about Keenan before like the meat and potatoes of the book started. So something that I loved were your 9 truth bombs. It's like very early in the book. So everybody that's picked it up, you've probably already seen this. I put them on the screen. So challenge to everybody that's joining us, listening, tell me which is your favorite of the 9 truth bombs. Tell me which is your favorite. And then I also want to hear from you, Keenan and Will. I'll start. Mine was definitely sales are emotional. I feel like my entire career, it's something that I feel like I'm talking to a stop sign, like just beating my head against the wall, trying to convince salespeople that it's emotion that sells. And now we have all this data, like I've been here for 15 years that says people buy with emotion, justify with logic. But even with the data, so few people believe it. They're like, no, but I need to have my 17-page slide deck, or I need to have, all my statistics in my 1-pager. And I'm like, no, you just need one really good, like compelling story that sticks with them, that excites them, that motivates them. So I mean, they were all good, but I particularly like number 5.
You still believe, Leslie, after reading Gap Selling, that the salesperson needs one convincing, compelling, emotional story?
I think if I had to choose a fact over a story, I would choose a story every single day.
Okay. If you had to choose a fact over a story, but if you're a Gap seller, that's a false narrative.
Okay. Well, we only have like 50 minutes, so.
But take that and put it into Gap Selling language. So if you had said you need one powerful, difficult, painful problem that is making the person's life miserable, there's your emotion, right? I don't need a story to sell, right? I may need a story as like a cherry on top to just make it feel good. But the story I tell is your story, Leslie. If I'm selling to you, I'm telling you your story back to you. I want you to look at Gap Selling as like a giant, I go in, it's a giant 5,000 piece jigsaw puzzle, right? And the buyer says, look, I know what it looks like. It's this, but that's the front of the box. I then start asking questions. They start to realize the puzzle's not put together, right? And so I make them put the puzzle together. And then I say, that does not look like that. And they're like, oh shit, you're right. It isn't I thought it's a picture of princesses, but it's in a box of mountains. I need it to look like mountains. Great. And then I tell their story back to them. And there's the emotion when I tell their story back to them, and it's all fucked up and it's emotions. There you go.
I love it. So if you had to pick one, which I know it's a tall order asking the man that wrote the book, what's your one truth bomb that you would like climb to the top of the mountain and scream to everybody if you had to pick one? All 9 of them? Wait, number
9.
How many fingers do you have on?
Yeah, sorry. Number 9, hands down.
Ooh, okay. I feel like there were a lot of like threads in the book because like some of the other quotes I wrote down were like Yeah, all like very much about that. Like it is just, it's not about you. How can you get this through your thick head? It is just not about you. I love it. What would you say, Will? And we got some people dropping theirs into the chat as well.
There's some good questions being thrown in there, I'm not gonna lie. But number one, salespeople spend so much time with customers who don't have problems, or who haven't accepted they have problems, or the fact they haven't even uncovered one. And they feel like they're really busy, and then they wonder why none of their sales closes. No business is going to make a purchase if it's not fixing something. If it's not broken, don't fix it. These people are going to be, people are like, oh, I've done all this work. Well, you skipped the first step. There was no problem. You were never going to close the sale. You would have spent better time cold calling people and trying to find people who have real problems.
Yep.
So yeah, number one.
Yep.
All right, and I put some up on the screen as well. But a lot of the sales happen when the future state is a better state, absolutely, which certainly was tied to the piece around like customers are only going to change when there is a distinct reason to change. That future state is worth it. Love it. Okay.
Oh, stop. They're going to change when their current state is untenable. They do not buy because of the future state. People miss this point, right? And actually, I came up with this a little while ago, and I'm going to put it in the next book. And I'm mad that I didn't put it in this one. So what are they called? Revisions? Those books when you rewrite them, revisions, some shit like that. So when I do Get, Sell, and Revised, this is going into it. This is deep shit. I've done 2 videos on it. They haven't done nearly as well. And so even though I'm not very bright, every once in a while I think I'm smarter than most people. They can't fucking keep up. So here's how it works. In every sales training, every sales environment, no one's noticed this. At the end of a sale, we ask salespeople to do 2 things. At the end of the sale, we ask the buyers to do 2 things simultaneously. What are they?
At the end of the sale, we ask the buyer to do 2 things simultaneously.
Yes. Yep.
I don't know.
Very last thing in the sales process.
Give us their money.
Okay, I'll go with it. Buy our product service. Yep. And what's the other thing?
Leave the status quo behind.
Change. Yes.
Look, it's almost like I read the book.
Yes. And so here's the deal, though. That is not smart. That's too much for buyers. People don't understand that you need to pull them apart. And in the beginning of the sale, in the first 25% of the sale, you've got to get the buyer to come to a status that says, I can't stay here. Staying here is not an option. That is not okay, right? And once the buyer realizes that staying where they are, the cost of staying where they are is too high, then you can start moving them to your product. And when you do that, do you know how many times you lose to the status quo? Almost zero. And yet out of 50, 60, 75 years of training, and so to this cat who asked Walters, would this message resonate in 55, 65, 75, and 85? It would. I have to sell it a little different, but it would. You wouldn't lose to the status quo, but we haven't been doing that. For all this time, we've been forcing people to make 2 giant decisions at the same time. And even the client doesn't even recognize they're doing that.
Yeah, it's a very interesting point, because I think often like salespeople frame it as I have to get them to leave a competitor, or like, choose me over, Jesus, I almost knocked my water over, choose me over choosing somebody else. But often if you're new to market, or like particularly the product I just sold, because it was new to the US, like there wasn't a competitor. They weren't spending that money with somebody else. So we had to show them what the loss was. We had to show them what it was costing them to not take action. And it's fun. It was a very fun sale because it was hugely consultative. But yeah, it is a difficult sales skill to learn, and one that I don't think I really got until a bit later in my career. Yeah, good. Well, Greg says thanks. Okay. All right, let's see. We're going to switch questions. I'm going to see if I can remove these slides and make our faces bigger, and I did it on my first try. Whew, look at us, team. Okay. So there's so much it was really hard to only pick like 7 questions, because there was so much I wanted to dig into. So I'm going to skip right to the section on how to play, like how to actually use the gap selling. And you have a chapter that's called Get Them to Let You Help Them. And so I'd love maybe Keenan, your take from a sales perspective, and then maybe Will, your take from a marketing perspective to kind of put you on the spot. But from a sales perspective, Keenan, what do you think for our audience? It's like one thing that most of them are not doing today, that if they start doing tomorrow, it's going to dramatically change their ability to get prospects to let them help.
Understand the buyer's world and the problems they're struggling with as it relates to the problems your product or service fixes. You need to know where to look for the problem. What people don't understand when we do the trainings, we often hear people say, well, they don't want to answer the questions. They just tell me to hurry up and get to the product. And they answer one or two and they're like, just show me the product. And what I don't think salespeople get is if you're asking questions and the buyer just wants to move on, they see no value in your questions. But if you're asking questions and they're answering them and they continue to answer them and they'll spend an hour with you answering those questions, that means you're asking questions that they see valuable, and it's helping them see their business in a different light. And they see, wow, this is beneficial to me. They'll sit there all day with you. Mm-hmm. The problem is salespeople don't know how to do that. So understand their world, which will allow you to ask better questions, which will add value to your questions, and the buyer will let you help them.
I love that. And maybe like very tactically, before you get on a call with a customer, what are some of the pieces that you need to show up to say, I've read, like, help me understand if I got this right, or what I've been seeing is
no. See,
what do you think?
I've been seeing, because that takes them to somebody else's world. So what we do is we build the pick. So if you haven't read the book or you read the book, go get the pick. And the pick is the problem identification chart. So with your business or what you sell, you should be able to identify what are the business problems we solve and write them all down. Then what are the impacts to the organization if those business problems exist? Write them all down. And then what are the root causes that creates those business problems? And so once you know that and study that, it's a cakewalk. So look, anybody sells anything to a sales organization that helps sales has exactly 4 problems we solve. Maybe 4.5. I'm getting pushed to 5, but long sales cycles, reduction in quota or not making quota, low win rates, and low average sales price. And then I'll even put in the 0.5, slow growing pipelines or low pipeline. That's it. I challenge anybody to tell me a business problem besides those 5 that you're selling to a sales organization are the business problems they have. That's it. Now, there can be a slew of root causes. Sales team doesn't know how to do discovery. Sales team doesn't understand the business problem. Sales team doesn't understand the product. Sales team hasn't been trained very well. Sales team is product centric. Sales team does a lot of pitching. I'm just throwing them. I could go forever, right? So as you hear you ask your first wide open question. Tell me a little about your sales organization and what you're concerned with. Person says, oh my God, everything's going fairly well. We're growing at 10% year over year, but we're still behind on our number. Well, doesn't even say 10% year over year. But I don't believe my sales team does good discovery. Well, tell me about that. Well, they just sit and start throwing up all the product and then blah, blah, and they say, wait, so because they throw up all the product, you find that your close rate is lower than you'd like it to be. Yeah, how'd you know? Well, no fucking shit. I know what the business problem is. I know what the root cause is. You said this. I know what that leads to. Boom. It's like being a doctor. I know what the problem is. I know the ailments. So take root cause and problem out and turn it into ailments, symptoms. I know what it is ahead of time because I built the pick. That was a long answer, but that's how you do it.
I love it. No, that's a reason for people to go get the book, right? You want the pick, you have to go get the book now. Mari said she did the exercise with her senior partner today, and it was productive and a great learning experience. So that's awesome.
Thanks, Mary.
That's amazing. Thanks for sharing that. Let's see here. I'm going to bring that back up later. First, I want to hear from you, Will. So you're sort of in marketing now.
I don't identify as a marketer still. I'm a salesperson who works in marketing right now.
Trader.
When we think about, so this is why I wanted you to answer from a marketing perspective, because I find that the lines between like lead gen and demand gen are blurring. We know that more and more research is being done on our products before we ever speak to our customers, that they have a better understanding and more access to information than they've ever had before. So I think the role of demand gen plays an increasingly important role in like where salespeople get to pick up conversations and sort of what our prospects already think about us. So what, like from a marketing perspective, what's something that our audience isn't doing today that you think that they should start doing like tomorrow to help this full flywheel of understanding our customers better?
The same thing that salespeople need to do is focus on the problem. Like I see so much marketing that's like, hey, we're going to improve your close rates by 20%. That may as well be I don't know another analogy for this, but that could be like a penis enlargement pill. That means nothing to anyone. That's like candy, right? Like what you need to be focusing is almost educating your buyers to that symptom problem. Maybe not get so deep because you need a salesperson to actually really do that and ask some questions and figure that out, like Keenan just said. But you need to be focusing on the problems, the symptoms, potentially some of the impacts of those problems on their business that get them interested. And that will get you way ahead of like they rocking up and they're like, oh, we just want to see a demo because we've already figured out we have a problem. But you want to get ahead of that before they even start looking at providers, because otherwise you're just trying to compare apples to apples. That's not a good point to jump in. That's often why I think people jump in the phone. They're like, I want a demo. I'm looking at 6 solutions today. I want a demo from you. I don't want to ask you questions. We want to get them before that happens.
Okay, that's like a perfect segue to my next question. Because are you just having like a glass of whiskey?
It's light here, Leslie. I told you I have a little one and another one on the way. So
it's not judgment, it's jealousy. It's not. I did a TikTok yesterday that was like our entire whiskey cabinet just to like rub it in the face of like Ron L. Richards and a couple of other people that were like, oh, look at me. So I'm with you. Okay, but it's a perfect segue because you were talking about demo. Chapter 11 is all about how to run an amazing demo. And I think kick-ass demo is the terminology you use. And maybe a spoiler alert for folks who haven't gotten to chapter 11 yet. Keenan says like absolutely never. There's probably an F-bomb in there. Demo on the disco. And depending on who you ask, that's an unpopular opinion. Like throw that up on LinkedIn and I'm sure there's plenty of people.
I don't give a fuck.
That are good. Well, I know, and that's why I love you.
I don't. I'm right. And the people here's how I know I'm right. Ask somebody why they would do them both. In 99% of the time, it's for expediency. Nobody has explained to me the value to the buyer and the selling process, why doing them together is valuable. It's all about expediency. So if expediency is your motive, you already know it's the wrong motive.
Okay, so here I want to put the buyer at the center and challenge you. For the record, I'm just being argumentative because I don't actually demo on the disco. So it sounds
like a band, demo on the disco. I like that.
Demo on the disco. We should get t-shirts.
I like that.
So we have a huge amount of SaaS companies, probably companies that are in our own tech stacks that have a PLG, a product-led growth model, right? And often that's starting with like an easy to access freemium, and then they're upgrading to their mid-market enterprise, which involves more of that sales-led model. What I hear from a lot of those folks is that their customers show up, they know exactly what they want and what they want to solve for and what features they're looking for, and they know what 3 competitors in the space they're going to look at, and they will not give you the time for a like separate disco demo because they don't view that as a good use of their time. They don't have the time. They know what they want. They're educated. So the answer is, we'll split it, which you say, don't even split it. That's not even an acceptable balance.
Yep.
What is the balance between meeting our buyer where they are at if we have those educated buyers in the PLG space showing up versus wanting to have that deeper conversation with the buyer so you're freaking showing them the right pieces of the product on the demo?
All right. So this is where I do meet in the middle, and I don't even call it meeting in the middle, right? If a buyer refuses to have a meeting in, let's say, in a PLG environment, and they refuse to quote unquote do a discovery, I'm like, fine, we'll do both. But if you do it right, an hour will go by and like, oh, we didn't get to the demo, and they'll reschedule. Okay? Because listen, buyers, I'm probably going to lose some business right here. But anyways, 95, and I can't prove it, but I'm pretty right. 95% of the time, the buyers don't know what they want. They think they know what they want. They think they know what they're doing. And they're like, I want this feature and this feature. I want this. But why? But why do you want it? What are you going to do with it? And, oh, by the way, they lack the industry knowledge in some cases to apply it properly.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So they get exactly what they want, and then they realize that as it matures and it moves on, I made this mistake as a buyer. They realize, oh shit, I can't do this. And they didn't know they can't do this because they weren't thinking about this when they bought, and now they're pissed. I use this example all the time. I'll be quick, but it makes sense. I'm a Jeeper. I got this really dope, jacked up Jeep, blah, 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 right? When I bought it, I didn't know anything about lockers. Will, does that mean anything to you?
Yeah, lock your stuff in.
So no, lockers it locks all four wheels so they turn simultaneously, all four wheels.
Oh, so it like doesn't spin out?
Yes, in traditional four wheel, it moves to the wheel that's getting the least traction.
Okay.
The concept being is if it's spinning in the mud or the sand, you send the power to that, right? But if you get high centered, they're in the air. So you literally can't go anywhere. Lockers make sure all four turn at the same time.
Okay.
That's a whole nother level of four-wheeling. I didn't know anything about those. There's something else called sway bar disconnects. I won't bore you with that. Where am I going with this? I could have walked in and told this guy I want 30.5-inch lift. I want 37-inch tires. I want this and that and blah, 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 and that thing's going to four-wheel over everything. And I won't talk to him. I know what I want. You're not going to sell me shit. Then I go to Moab, or I go some of the hairiest four-wheeling here in Colorado, and I get stuck. And all these other guys aren't getting stuck. And they're like, well, turn your lockers on. I'm like, what do you mean by lockers? Don't you have lockers? No, what are lockers? Wait, or I go in the sand. Or I go slick rocking. Hey, man, you better air down to 8%. So where are your bead lockers? Bead lockers? What are bead lockers? I didn't know what I don't fucking know. And same thing with buyers. They don't know what they know. They think they're fucking geniuses. They're not fucking geniuses. They buy shit because they're tired of shitty salespeople. And then they buy the wrong thing. The salesperson doesn't get the deal. So no, that was a long, long answer to cut it out.
I love it though. Like one of my clients is a HubSpot agency. And so I do a lot of post-call coaching, and on every call, if not every call, like 99.9% of calls, the prospect shows up saying, I want this and I need this and I need this. And the call ends with them buying a different hub or different features or going a totally different direction because they show up thinking that they know what they want, but they're not the expert on the product that we sell or the service that we sell. And it's like they know enough to be dangerous, but not enough to make the right decision.
So Leslie, I'm going to change your vernacular by the time we get off this call.
Tell me.
You just said the buyer doesn't know enough about the product. The buyer doesn't know enough about their problem. I didn't even know that Slick Rock needed to air down. I didn't know you needed bead lockers, so when you air down to 5 PSI, the tire doesn't come off the rim. I didn't know any of that. So I didn't even know what problems I had or I could have because I didn't know. An expert in the space knows and says, hey, do you ever go to Moab? Do you ever do level 9 things? How are you going to do okay, I'll buy this. Right? Or the person is the vice versa. The person comes in and says, I want a jacked up Jeep 3.5-inch things. I want 37 size. I want bead lockers. I want data 48 things. I want lockers. I want sway bars. And like, why do you want all that? Because I want a badass Jeep. You ever going to go to Moab? No. Where do you four wheel? On the beach? Dude, that's an extra 30 grand. You don't need that. Unless you're going to go here, you don't need that. And you want it to look cool, fine. I'll give you the 33.5-inch lift. It'll look great, but you don't need all. Oh, wow. It goes both ways. It's the problem, Leslie. I'm beating you up. Go to the problem. Stop talking about the solution of the product.
I've been in sales for 15 years. If you think a small language pivot is beating me up,
sorry.
It's a powerful one.
I'm watching Will's face. It's a powerful one. I don't think people understand the power in shifting your thinking to the current state problem from the product and the future state implementation. I don't think they get it. It's powerful.
No, I love it. I love it. I learned something about lockers as well. We're doubling down over here. And I think it goes back to the beginning of the conversation when you were talking about coming from that place of deep understanding so that you can ask the smart questions and do the diagnosis that best serves the customer. So bringing it full circle. Okay. A challenge for people listening. Let me see if I can reshare this. Oh my goodness, so good at this. Okay, in page 75, I wrote it down on my handy dandy little color coded notes because that's who I am as a human. You issue a challenge and you say that before you send out an email, pick up the phone, like post, like do anything, you better be able to fill in the blank at the end of this sentence. So I thought it would be fun to just put all of us on the spot and put, folks listening to us on the spot, and we can give it a wing and answer this question. So for everybody listening, this is a challenge to you too. Drop it in the comments. What is your reason? Who wants to start?
I'll give a free t-shirt to the first person.
Like the first person in the comments can get a free t-shirt, free gap selling.
Finishes that thing, yeah.
Okay, race to the comments, team. Keenan's going to send you a free t-shirt. The reason my product or service exists is to... I can give it a wing. I feel like the reason that my service, that's a service for me, helps or exists is to help sales professionals achieve their personal best.
Okay, so I can live with that, but you did it again, Leslie. What did you just say it does?
I talked about a thing instead of a problem.
You talked about a future state. You talked about moving them forward.
Salespeople are also all terrible. Give me your money and I'll make you better. Is that
okay?
No?
So no, but it's still making, right? So how about go to an existing problem?
Okay. The problem is that most salespeople don't know or don't have the training or haven't been empowered to communicate in a way that makes them feel good about the interactions they're having with customers.
Okay, so I mean I think you do more than that, but if that's where you want to go, the reason my product service is to help salespeople who don't feel good about how their ability to help customers. That's the problem they're in right now.
Write that down.
Right? That's like that. You want to, what is that phrase? Meet them where they are.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, if I spent more time with you, I bet it's bigger than that. But based on what you said, that's someone's current state. And if you think your market, I'm not saying it's not, but if you feel your market is people who are not happy or comfortable with how they're selling to their customers now, that's the problem you solve.
I did write that one down. I don't actually sell to individual sales reps, but I love that statement, and it will become a LinkedIn post very soon.
That's the problem you solve. If you're a gap seller, your conversation should go to, how do you feel right now as a seller? Are you happy with your selling? Do you feel people listen to you? Do you feel they respect you? Do you feel they give you the credibility? Do you find that they they quickly want a demo? Do you feel that they hang up like, see what I'm doing? Everything is, how do you feel? That's where you are now. Let's talk about well, I'll take you later. I want to own you in where you are now. You see the difference in that vernacular again?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
I do.
I'm talking too much.
I love it. Well, we also had some awesome people jump into the chat. MJ was first to the chat. So MJ, I believe you just earned yourself a free t-shirt.
MJ, tell MJ to DM me. And so he's going to get a free t-shirt. But his answer,
Keenan, or if you're not connected, with Keenan, but you are connected with Will or I, you can DM us, or you just reach out consistently until we get you a t-shirt.
Mike Loza, DM me. I'll give you one just for your fucking creativity. That was brilliant.
Okay, Mike, you get one as well. I love it. We have so many good ones. People.
No, we don't. No, we don't.
Well, good in that they shared.
Okay, I'll give you that.
What you want to encourage on.
Notice what everybody does. Well, I got to get
the same thing I did. Problem.
Yeah. No one knows the problems they solve.
Yeah.
That's why I get so passionate about gap selling. Nobody has a fucking clue what problems they solve. All they talk about is what their product will do for somebody.
Someone's got it pretty good in here, I'd say.
Which one? I'll put it up.
Stop disruption downtime.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
Hey, Kelly.
Yes. Leave it to the techie guys, right? So that is a solid B+. And the only reason it's not an A, and I don't expect him to know this, is he just described what is called a root cause or technical problem. It's a problem with the tool. So now if he can help me understand unplanned downtimes and that disruption, how does that manifest itself in a business? I could do it. So I'm going to go out on this one. The reason my products and services exist to help companies stop losing money from unplanned downtime or disruption to their IT infrastructure, manufacturing infrastructure, whatever. Now you got my attention.
Oh, I love it. All right, you want to do a tear down build up of any of these other ones? Check out the chat, and if there's another one you want me to put up, I can throw it up.
I would just tell everybody, with the exception of Loza, is to look at what you have and ask yourself, everybody notices, you're all talking about what your product can do. You're not attaching it to where the buyer is today and the problems they struggle with.
Okay. This one's kind of funny.
I like that one. Not crap. I love it. Jessica Knight, well done. To make onboarding not crap, not a case of drinking from a water hose. So what I would like in this one, I believe the reason my product or service exists is to reduce attrition. Wait, I always miss this up. Reduce attrition, right? Or turnover due to poor onboarding, right? Or another one, it could be prevent companies from losing money due to long onboarding process. Or, right? So what is when a long onboarding process in place, how does that negatively affect the company? Get there. But she's pretty close. I like that.
That was good. Yeah, that was good. Fun. Thank you to everybody who was a little bit vulnerable today and threw theirs into the chat. Really, really appreciated that. There's some pretty fun ones in here. This is what great. This is what Kelly.
You know what I love about this team? Everybody switched. I give them credit. Yeah. Everybody here is very coachable. They came back with a new attempt.
Yeah, and
right. These are the type of people I love. They're taking coaching and they're switching it.
I feel like if you are in sales and you are not coachable, think about a new profession, because you're never going to be able to consistently perform in this one. Maybe that's an unpopular opinion. I stand by it.
I'm with you. Like most salespeople who show up think they need to just talk about their product all the time. That's why I was like before I got some training.
Can you perform in any gig without being coachable? Can you perform in any gig without being coachable? If you're an IT coder and not coachable, can you perform? If you're a teacher and you're not coachable, can you perform? I mean, I don't think anybody can if they're not coachable.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't hire them. I mean, I think there's plenty of people that can probably eke out a living not being coachable, because I've met and managed some of them. But they're not going to be the top performers.
You ever been to the DMV? Yeah.
Okay, well, we've all laid our souls out, so you have.
My mother-in-law works at the DMV, so the Canadian equivalent at least. So I can, guess I can make that sure, right? Yeah.
All right, you got to bare your soul to us. We all gave it a try. What's yours?
Well, I don't sell some right now because, like we said, I'm a marketer. But
now suddenly you're a marketer.
Vidyard, like the whole idea is like not only. Okay, so the problem I would say, the reason my product or service exists, Vidyard in this case, video for salespeople, is to decrease the amount of lost pipeline from boring your customers with bad emails.
So you're heading right to it, but you said it's future to decrease. What are they struggling with now? I gave you a hint, by the way, because Vidyard does pretty much the same things that I do.
Yeah. So prevent.
Nope. Go to where they are now. Don't
lost revenue.
To stop you from boring your customers. Just shorten it.
Customers, the big one.
I got one for you. I got right up to the top of my head. The reason Vidyard exists is to help companies who are not achieving the inbound lead conversion rate they want.
Right.
So notice why I said they're not achieving. See what I'm saying? Like, where are you now? Right. Yeah. So the reason my product exists is to help companies who are not making quota because they can't generate enough leads. Right? Is that not a problem you solve?
That is definitely a problem we solve.
There you go.
Okay. Is this recorded, Leslie? Because
I know it isn't, but I'm like, I think I do get a copy of the broadcast. We'll see. I wrote mine down. I was like, I'm not losing that.
But the rest of the teams, the marketing team's like, Keenan just said that. All right, let's put that in a quote out of context.
Most people have to pay big bucks. Keenan's just here sharing this wisdom for free with us. I'm taking notes over here.
Did that make sense, Will, though? Do you see what I did there?
Yeah.
And people ask why that's so important. Because the reason it's important and the reason gap selling leads with it is I can't go in. If I go in and try to get you to say, oh, I want to do this, I run the risk of going down the product-centric road. But if I go in and saying, go in looking for you to tell me that you're not growing as fast as you want, and you're not growing as fast as you want because your outbound conversion rate or your lead generation or your response rates aren't where they are, okay, I'm winning. So just imagine if I gave you a choice. You could have 20 prospective qualified opportunities who said, our response rate to our outbound efforts is 0.5%. Or I gave you 50 people that said, we want to prevent us. What did you say? How did you say it, Will? Prevent us from what?
Prevent lost pipeline. I think that was the word I was using.
Okay, so or preventing lost pipeline. You had to choose which bucket would you want? Which one would you want?
I'd want the folks who are missing out on stuff right now.
That's the point of gap selling and going to the current state. You nailed it. It doesn't mean the other one we don't get there.
Yeah.
But when you do a discovery or you engage with a buyer, if you go find where they are right now and you find that shitty environment, it's a natural transition to say, so wouldn't you like that to stop? Yes, I would. Right? Yeah. That's why it's important.
So we only have a few minutes left. So I'm going to bring it home with one last question, but I do want to just like, what's a nice corporate cliche? Like put a pin in it. I want to double click a point real quick.
Oh, don't double click.
I couldn't stop myself. Will, I couldn't. And it's that it's great to learn things, but even this exercise of like doing and talking it out and then moving to put it into practice is so important. And I think often, or at least I definitely see this as a content creator, and I'm guessing you guys probably do too, is that people get into this habit of just constantly consuming information, and in consuming it, they think they know it, but they're not taking the time to action it and do it. So just a little pause, and it's a call to action to like, don't just read the book, don't just show up to this, like tomorrow or tonight, better yet, like take that statement and rework it until you feel like you have that in the present moment statement, not that future statement, and then take it and put it on the phones and give it a go. We got a little +1 there. So just a little call to action. Okay, last question. This went so fast, and thank you to everybody for showing up. Massive thank you to Keenan and Will. And at the end, I'll put up a slide so you know where to find them. There are so many parts of this book that we didn't get to. There's a phrase that you share that's like, I'm confused. You said that I love. I use something very similar and I swear by it. There's a whole section on you're not the customer's bitch that I also love. So for folks that haven't actually bought Gap Selling or read it, like do that. You won't regret it. But on page 151, you say, too many of us are using the old school me, interruptive, valueless approaches, and we're failing because of it. And that I physically leaned into the book because I talked so much about like earning the right to your customer's inbox and then to their calendar and then to their business. So I think that was my like favorite part of the entire book. It was like my number one takeaway of the entire book. If readers are only going to take one thing away from this book, what would it be? Like if this is a presentation, it's your final slide. Like what's on your final slide of like, don't lose this. And I'm coming to you next, Will, so you might get those gears turning.
I guess I would have to say that. So I'm battling between what piece will people gravitate to apply, like what would I say is going to be applicable versus what is most critical to the foundation. And so I'm going to default to the foundation.
Okay.
Because if you don't get the foundational elements, if you try to do this yourself, you fuck it up. You're probably still going to fuck it up, but that's okay. The thing that people have to get through their head in sales, which is the most important part, is that people do not buy unless there is a compelling reason to change. And what I like to say is nobody changes unless your current state is untenable or intolerable. So all of this effort to talk about how cool my product is and look at my phone and it's got a great camera and da-da-da-da and da-da-da-da. unless I have a current state problem that I believe is untenable, none of that stuff's going to make a difference to me. And what salespeople don't understand, and this is very important, and it's the reason gap selling is doing well, but it's not the number one in the world because it's so difficult to grasp unless you've gone through the training, is that when you spit out all the features, the buyer is processing for themselves behind a curtain, which you cannot see, what problems they have, and they're trying to attach and grab what you're saying and compile it to themselves. Whether it's right or wrong is immaterial. And when they're done with that, like, oh, I think I'll buy. And so you sold it thinking you were a great salesperson. But little do you know, you had no influence on that sale at all. They did it all themselves. And the best way I can describe this is, and I'll do it quick, because I've had 3 instances in the last year of a client coming to me and saying, I want you to speak at my SKO. One of them, they all went like this, but the one I described, I won't bore you, but I said, why? He gave me a bunch of answers. I said, this isn't going to work for you. Your problem is this. I will do it, but this is the problem. This is the outcome. This isn't going to work. He said, what do you think is going to work? I recommended this. He goes, we don't have the budget. I said, I appreciate that. But if this is the problem, and it was a $10 million problem, and this is going to grow to another $10 million next year, and these are the reasons, I don't think I will take your 50K, but I don't think it's going to work. He said, good point. So then he said, let's do this next year. I said, great. But you said that you're going to be 10 million behind. It's going to take 3 to 4 months for your team to get up, blah, blah, blah. You're going to lose half the year. He goes, good point. We don't have the budget for the end of this year. I said, is it a budget or cash? He said, it's a budget. I said, I'll work with you. I'll charge the second half later. He goes, great. It went from a $50,000 deal to a $250,000 deal. And it's not because I upsold them. It's because there was no curtain. And this is where I'm going with it. There was no curtain. I knew what his problems were. I understood the size of those problems. I knew what the root causes were. I knew what he was trying to accomplish. And so I simply just said, this isn't going to work. Do you think it will? You're kind of right. And so that got us here. So my point in telling you that story is 99% of most salespeople, and I know that was long, but to see where I'm going as I wrap it up, would have sold all 3 of those deals at $50,000, had $150,000 in their pipeline, and thought they were great salespeople. You don't know what you don't know. I turned all 3 of those into multiple 6-figure deals. Not because I upsold, not because I manipulated, not because I cheated, but because they didn't realize what they didn't know. And so rather than having $150,000 on the table to the average seller who closed a good for you pat on the back, there was almost $1 million in deals that they would never have known they would have gotten had they fucking pulled the curtain aside and figured out what is their current state untenable problem. So I know that was long, but did that help?
No, it was a powerful example. And I think often salespeople are afraid to tell their customers no, or afraid to say, that's not right, that's not going to work, you're not going to get what you want, because they feel the pressure to just say yes, do the deal, get their metrics, etc. So I think that was a powerful example of like the positive cost to saying that's not it. Let's figure out what is.
All together. I do is recite back to the buyer. This is, and Leslie, you bring up a good point. Will, I want to get you in here because this is good shit and I know you get it. But Leslie, what people don't understand is what you described. They're afraid to say that, but they're afraid to say that because that's their opinion. They didn't get the data and basically play it back to them and say, okay, I can do what you're asking, but you said boom, 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 and boom, 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 boom. Mm-hmm. How will a 1 hour fucking rah SKO get you this?
Accomplish that, yeah.
And they're like, oh shit, you're right. Like you're literally right. So I'm never afraid to do that because I only do it when it matters. And the only way I do it when it matters is when I listen to what they've told me, what the problems are, what they're trying to accomplish, why they can't do it now, the impact if they don't do it. And then I'm like, sometimes I say, I wouldn't even buy from me. I don't think you have a problem. So once you know that, I just parrot people's worlds back to them. And why it pisses people off. I'm brilliant at that. I will listen to everything you say and I will parrot it back. And like, but you said it, not me. So there shouldn't be a fear. There's a fear now because they're not getting the right information. They're just saying, but you really need my phone. You don't have a phone with a camera that says good. You need it. That's why they're afraid. because they can't tie you said you shoot your kids and you post on Instagram and you try to make your kid a stupid Instagram star, and you don't know that by not buying the camera, they're not going to achieve their goals. So you can't challenge them. All right, Will, go.
Okay, Will, bring us home. I'm also going to add just a slide to find us. If you didn't pick it up by now or you don't already follow Keenan, follow him. He also has a whole company that does GAP certifications and GAP training and other good stuff. So I posted his website as well. And there's some places to find Will and I both on LinkedIn and TikTok. Will, no pressure, but you are the end cap to this entire amazing hour. So what do you think?
I'd have the same notes you have ready, Leslie, with the page 151. But
oh, you do the same?
my biggest thing is, like, if you don't have the root cause and the impact, then don't go anywhere near a demo. Even if you're doing a discovery demo combo, just stop. Don't show someone something until you have both those things. And if you have both those things, then summarize and get them to say, yes, you nailed it. And then one of the big parts that stands out to me in the book is, like, if you're then going to go into the demo, just show the things related to that root cause and that impact, that problem. Let's solve that. Because otherwise you undo all the credibility that you just got from asking really good questions and knowing your shit by showing them a bunch of stuff. I think the analogy, Keenan, you're here, so I can't refer to you in third person, but like that you use is like if you walked into a dress shop and you're looking for a prom dress because prom's tomorrow and you're like, you need it, and someone starts showing you hats and shoes and stuff when you're just looking for a dress, you're gonna be bored. You're gonna lose it. You just did. You're gonna be pissed off. Yeah. So.
I love it. Amazing.
You could have 100 features, but if only one of them is going to solve the problem that your customer has, then just show that one and fuck the other 99.
And like, let's be honest, of all of our tech stack, there's like maybe 2 or 3 features of the 100 that we are jazzed and that we bought about. This was incredible. Keenan, Will, thank you so much for showing up. Everybody that joined live, thank you so much for taking time out of your afternoon and evening to come have this conversation with us. Really appreciate it. And we'll see y'all on LinkedIn.
Tell Sugarman no.
Tell Sugarman no. She's saying, Keenan, what about sales decks? Yes or no? I'm a huge, if you show up and you read me a deck, my internet will suddenly go out and I won't be able to reconnect to the Zoom. So I'm with you. I'm with you.
I love that name though, Sugarman. I mean, I wish she worked for me just so I could say Sugarman.
Sugarman.
Now.
Yeah, Sugarman. That is like the best freaking name. Like Sugarman. I mean, it's like a version of Candyman. Sugarman.
Sugarman, put your sales decks away.
Oh, they gotta come get me. Sugarman. I mean, that is awesome. Love it, Sugarman.
Oh my word. Well, thank you to everybody. Have a wonderful evening and we'll see you next time.
Thanks so much, Leslie.
Great job, Leslie.